Good evening, folks. We're back in Vintage Story tonight, continuing our vanilla playthrough, getting into the Copper Age, hopefully this evening. So let's see where we're at. Get myself back up to speed where we left off. Nighttime, so we're probably just going to go ahead and hit the hay here, as you can see outside. See here, we'll just throw this firewood down here for a second. And now we'll just go ahead and sleep through the night real quick so we can get back up and be working in the morning here. Have some daylight. Hopefully by then our charcoal will be done. Alright. I'm going to reset my torch here real quick so it doesn't go out on me. And we're also going to need some food. Also, I think it's time to finish fixing up our bags here. Sticks and dry leaves. There we go. Just replacing my hand baskets now with larger backpacks. And there we go. We'll put this back on the floor because we don't need that right now. Alright. Let's feed our character real quick here. That. Some mushroom porridge or stew I made in a previous episode, which you can find on my channel where I did a little cooking tutorial on making soup and stew. Go. Keep us fed for a minute. Let's see if our charcoal pit is done with its burn. We're just going to go up here to the top. Nope, we still got smoke coming out the top, so it's still burning. We still got some time there, so let's go ahead and empty our inventory out of some things we don't need. Like these seeds here. You can just take these birch seeds and go plant them. That way we're preparing some trees for the future here. That'll be a good spot for one. And I like this spot over here. There we go. Alright. Now we need to wait for that to finish so we can do our first smelt. So with that going, I'm going to come over here and check my impromptu animal trap that has caught a few small animals here. See what we've got going on in it. Here I see one rabbit down in there. And it looks like the piglet I had earlier is no longer with us. But that's alright. Well, we're going to just continue on here. The other thing I kind of want to do tonight, you see that there's a bear over there. He's been hanging out near my home here in Vintage Story for a bit. And I kind of want to see if with some prep work, if we can't hunt that bear. Because I think that would be a good source of meat and some more hides for us, as well as hopefully a good source of fat. So to that end, I think what we're going to do, we're going to go make a bow and some arrows. Got some flaxes ready for us here. We have to grab that on the way back to the house to work on making that bow and arrow set. He's got lots of arrowheads that I've found. Seeing if any of this flax over here near my home is ready. We'll also grab these cattails while we're at it. Always good to grab cattails. Because you can make ropes just like you can use the vines you can find to make ropes. So very handy to have. The other thing we should need to do is I need to actually upgrade my food storage. I've been using these reed baskets, And realistically, what I should do, since I have enough clay for this, I should be using the clay jugs that you can make for storing food. The storage vessels. That's what they're called. Because they actually have a further reduction to spoilage, specifically for grains and vegetables. So really, realistically, I should have been doing that this whole time. None of these onions are ready. Let's go get these seeds planted real quick. One, get them out of my inventory. To allow us to keep farming up some crops here. And I can't wait to get this smelt done, because I really need my watering system in place here. Because using the watering can is just slow. It takes time. You see how I'm having to water all this here? Yeah, it's very cool, because you can just walk through and hold it down until you run out of water. But it'd be nice to not have to do this like every day or so. There we go. And we got most of them to a decent level. Alright. Let's see what else we can work on here. I was going to work on that bow. So let's go ahead and work on that bow while we're sitting here thinking about it. So I'm going to take and do a row of that. And then we're going to see here. Alright, the crude bow. It's going to be 3 ropes and 3 sticks. Alright, well that's easy enough. We got plenty of cattails for 2 more ropes. There we go. And I think I have plenty of sticks. Just a theory. There we go. Crude bow. And once I have a saw, we'll upgrade to getting like a good bow, like a long bow, and then eventually the recurve. Now normally to get the recurve, there's a specific class you have to play. I think you have to play the hunter normally. But again, I have the class locked recipes turned off on this, since this is a solo playthrough. Now on a server, you know, I would probably leave the class locked recipes on there, just because, you know, you'd have other people on the server. But at the moment, I don't have that. I'm going to put this bow in my inventory because I don't actually need it in my hands right now. I don't even have any arrows on me. There we go. Got some more seeds for some more rye. We're going to go plant this rye real quick. So one of the things I really want to do is I really want to start stockpiling a good bit of food. Keep this farm going. Because, you know, we're going to need it come wintertime when you can't grow any food and foraging becomes nearly non-existent. And that actually fills up my last two. Oh, pardon me. I had to sneeze there. Alright, so that fills up the last 2 slots on my farm. Put away some of our stuff here. That's an old hide, so let's see. We'll put away our grains. Put away our flax twine. Go ahead and grab these feathers, because I want those. And there's some of the arrowheads we've gotten. I'm going to leave the copper ones for now. We'll just use wooden ones, because we're just using a crude bow right this second. I'm seeing those berries aren't going to last much longer, so we'll go ahead and eat those. And we're going to grab some of this here. I heard Bowtorn. I thought I heard a Bowtorn. What's a Bowtorn doing out? Trying to figure out why there was a bow torn out about. I don't see any portals. And it's calm right now. It's not nighttime. It's very strange. Very strange to be dealing with a bow torn in the middle of the day like that. Go ahead and get this storage vessel made. I keep my eye out for more unexpected guests. And I'll probably cut out some of this. You know, I'm not going to sit here and make everybody watch me just do a whole bunch of little crafting and mining things. But, for now, I'll let you all watch me make the storage vessel. Some of you may not have seen this before. But essentially, put down a double layer like I just finished, and then you're going to work your way up on the outside. This nice single line of clay. We'll do that the fast way. There we go. I may need more clay. A little 20 stack may not be enough for this. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go get some more clay. Well, looks like my charcoal may be done. You don't want to crack open your charcoal pit too soon, otherwise you'll lose the whole batch. Generally, once it stops smoking, it's done. And I don't see any more smoke coming out of it, so it's probably fine for me to crack that open. But I don't want to risk it. We're gonna wait until I finish this clay project, then we'll go check it. Alright. We're almost there. I'm just doing the inner... there we go. Got a medium temporal storm coming in. I'll let everybody get a quick look at that here. You know, maybe we'll sing it. Well, maybe we'll hang out outside for it. Because, you know, it's a good way for me to get some of the stuff I need, like temporal gears. I need a little stack of those. Because kind of my goals for this series is I want to complete this main storyline. So there's like a little 2 or 3 chapter storyline. I think it's just 2 chapters right now. There we go. That took almost 40 clay. Alright, so let's go. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and grab these crocs out of here because I'm going to want those crocs anyways. Put that in there. Alright, grab some grass and some sticks. There we go. I need some firewood or something. Actually, you know what would be good? There's some peat nearby. We'll go grab some of that peat. Because peat's very good for firing things in these pit kilns. You know, it burns well. It only takes 4 pieces of it. You can stack it, make some nice little stacks. Now, the one problem with it is it does not stack like a full 64 stack. It only stacks in 32 stack, much like the firewood. That burns hotter than the firewood. Which is good. But unlike the firewood, it is non-renewable. Once you dig it up, use it, it is gone. Where is that peat? I have it marked on my map somewhere. Oh, it was all the way up the other end of the lake. Alright, I'll just go grab some firewood then. Especially with the temporal storm blowing in I really don't want to be too far from my house in case I need to go and hide and wait it out. Gonna grab some of these berries here. And just snack on them. As we head back to go grab that firewood and get this fire pit lit here. This pit kiln. Sorry, I had to think of the right term there for a second. Some more berries here. Trying to keep ourselves topped off and make healing a little easier. I don't have any healing items on me right now. I do think that our charcoal pit is done now. Let's do is go ahead and grab it. Go in here real quick, and then just need 4 pieces. Alright. And what we'll do is go ahead and get this lit. Oh, it needs more than... That one needs more than 4. Alright. See, that's the other reason. I would have only needed 4. Alright. There we go. The other reason I really want to get the saw going is so I can make shelves to store these crocks I just picked up from our pit kilns earlier. Yeah, okay. That one needed, I think, 9. Or 8. It might have been 8 pieces of firewood. There we go. Alright. Put this back. We're gonna grab a couple of things here real quick. So put that there. I'm gonna put these crocks right here real quick. One thing I will do is go ahead and make some of these arrows. I'll condense some of this stuff out of my inventory. Allow me to put some of it away. There we go. There we go. Now eventually, as I said, we'll move up to having like a real bow, like a longbow there. We'll grab that. I'll grab these ingot molds, since that's one of the big things we were waiting on as far as our melting goes. And now we're going to crack open our charcoal pit here. And yes, it is indeed charcoal. Look at that. I'm going to throw these 2 blocks down right here where I store them. That one burned down pretty far. So we're just going to dig this out with our shovel real quick. Nice little stack of charcoal. I'm curious to see how much we got. So what I might do, dig all this out, make a little storage box, or a little stack of it to show you all. Okay, so it does stack up to more than 32. I think it stacks up to 64 in a stack. You can still dig it out with your hands, just slower than using a shovel. Alright. So just on the first 4 stacks there, that already gave us like 69 units, or no, I'm sorry. Gave us 72? No, 73. No, 71. 71. Good lord, I can math. Alright, so let's see here. We will put some of this charcoal right there in our inventory, and what we're going to do, we're going to put some of this stuff down here. We're going to put these 2 ingot molds down here. We're going to put our crucible in here. This is our hammer mold, which we're going to want. And then we got our pickaxe mold there already. So that's perfect. So what we're going to do, find our copper, over to our fire pit, put that in there. You see that's going to make 200 units of copper. That's perfect. I'll go ahead and just throw these 7 units of charcoal in there. And we'll just light her up. And then I need to make, before I mess this up, I need to make 1 more rope and a pair of tongs. Why is that not making tongs? What is the recipe for tongs? Tongs. Oh, I just had the rope in the wrong place. Okay. Easily fixed. There we go. That's the recipe for tongs. We'll want that in our offhand. Because, as this heats up, it's going to get up to like... Oh, yeah, what the melting point is you were tell us. The melting point on this is, you know, 1084 degrees Celsius, because this is in Celsius. So that's going to be a little warm. So yeah, we're going to need tongs for that. Once it gets up to temperature, the bar will fill up, and you'll have a crucible full of molten copper that we're then going to pour into these molds. And first we're going to do a pickaxe, followed by a hammer. Each one takes 100 units, which is why I needed 200 units of copper. So, real soon we will have our first metal tools. And I'm just keeping an eye out to see if that temporal storm's going to blow in just yet. Yeah, it says there's a medium one approaching. We'll keep an eye out. Because we'll see what that looks like, since I'm sure some of you all watching have never seen one before. And there we go. We'll save our leftover charcoal. We don't want to burn extra charcoal that we don't have to. Go to get our pickaxe mold filled up, and there's 100 out of 100. And then our hammer, 100 out of 100. And we can just set our crucible down and hang our tongs up. There we go. Now we just gotta let those cool, then we can put handles on them. There we go. Alright, what do we want to do next? Well, I still kind of want to deal with that bear, so let's go get our feathers. We're gonna finish off making our arrows that we can make. I just get my feathers on me. Hindsight's always 20/20, as they say. There we go. Since I have plenty of flint with which to make arrowheads, this will be something we can do while we wait and see about this temporal storm that's blowing in. We'll make some arrowheads. This is the flint napping mechanic in the game. You take a rock and break off little chunks of flint. Flint napping is a very interesting thing to see in real life. I used to know several flint nappers. I like the fact that once you clear out all the little chunks around an area, they'll just break off that whole chunk. You don't have to necessarily break out every individual piece. There we go. There's 6 more arrowheads. We'll do 1 more set, just so we can get them all processed here. Use up all of our feathers. I don't exactly have a good source of feathers right now. I do plan to add keeping chickens to my list of things in the game. We're not there yet. There we we go. Alright. Arrows. There we go. And we'll just max out those arrows. Perfect. Now I got 12 arrows, and I'll put my bow on my toolbar. Oh, it looks like we're going to have a temple storm at night from the looks of this. Now, the real problem with that is going to be the bowthorn. That we're also almost out of food. Let's go make some food real quick here. Close up our door before anything jumps us from behind here. Throw this. And we'll just throw... I have so many sticks. We'll just throw some sticks on the fire here. Because they will burn hot enough to cook with. And let's see here. We'll just make like 3 units of spelt forage here, and we'll just use these berries. Yep, so let's go in here. We're gonna go half into that one, half into that one, into there. I'm just gonna eat these other berries here. There we go. I was just saying, if the temporal storm was, it'll say approaching when it's going to be here and within like a day. It'll say imminent when it's about to start. So let's see here. This will let me do some consolidation on my inventory, which I've been needing to do. I'm burning some of these sticks. There we go. Finish off the stew from earlier. And grab a helping of porridge. There we go. Nice and topped off. And you can see these are still cooling. So now we'll put the extra arrowheads in there. No, I'm just going to get rid of these flowers that I've been saving. I don't need them. Throw this resin in there. Throw those cow hides in there. Or the charcoal in there, I mean. And throw some charcoal in here as well. There we go. Oh, see, there you go. Now it just came up in my little chat box down there. Temporal storm is imminent, meaning it's about to start. There we go. Get rid of those flowers. Putting them outside to save them because, you know, I'll get to beekeeping at some point and I want flowers around for the bees. Alright, do that real quick. See how our food looks in here. Gotta move some of this food around a little bit. There we go. Tell me how long that porridge is gonna last. It would if we had a. Oh, here we go. See, this now says hardened. I can pick up that. There we go. We'll go ahead and turn these into actual tools real quick while this temporal storm decides to blow in. Notice how my screen's getting all weird there. That's the temporal storm. What I'm gonna do real quick is make another tool rack to have some work with these tools. Put it there for now. I'll just put my pick and my hammer there. This is the joy of Temporal Storm. Now, go into my settings. One of the things I did for this playthrough is... yeah, it might not show it on here, but I think I turned on the ability to sleep through temporal storms, I think. Oh, no, I did not. Alright, so what we're going to do is go ahead and put this in our offhand. I'm going to open this up. We'll just take a quick peek outside, see what all we can see. You can see there's a bow torn out there. And these are all like nightmare versions of the creatures, making them much more dangerous. You can see he's going to take another shot at me here. I was hoping we could see Dave. That's a monster that you can see during temporal storms. You can't really interact with him. There's a drifter throwing a rock at me. But you can see him. But he's really hard to see at nighttime. But the other thing you can see at night, during these temporal, or during any time during these temporal storms, see how there's that gear spinning down at the bottom of my screen there? You can see like giant gears in the kind of in the distance in the sky and stuff spinning. Really kind of crazy to look at. Yeah, see those like nightmare drifters or whatever. You can see how it looks distorted out there and all. Apparently, so you can find these basically records in the game where people were like recording things that were going on or music and stuff, and you can get basically an old-timey record player. I think they called them phonograph or something like that. But there's a thing you can get that will let you play the records you can sort of find. They're not really records. They're like those old-fashioned recording tubes they used to use back in like the 1800s. And you can find those. Try to hit me with a rock. And listen to them. And if you listen to them during a temporal storm, apparently they get really interesting and fairly creepy. But we can't sleep right now due to the temporal storm going on, and that's the default setting in the game. You can change that when you're doing the world gen to make it so you can sleep through the temporal storms like this. And the story content kind of explains some of what's going on here, why you're experiencing temporal instability, why you're experiencing these temporal storms, and where the drifters and all that are coming from. Which we'll get into when we get into that part of the thing. Ow, that one got me. Yeah, that one got me too. Yeah, these are nightmare classes. That's why those thrown rocks have done a little more damage than the normal drifters do. This would also be a great way to get some valuables if I was out there fighting them. But I'm not wearing any armor right now, and that makes it a bit risky. Because there's basically different tiers. So it's like surface, which is kind of the weakest version of the mobs, and then there's the monsters, whatever you want to call them. Then there's the I think deep is after that, and those are the ones you find down in the caves. Oh, there was a bow torn out there somewhere. And then there's the nightmare, which is what we're seeing here. I think there's corrupted in between deep and nightmare, if I remember correctly. And there are other types of creatures and not enemies in the game besides just these drifters, which are the little two-legged hunched over things, the Vothorns, which are the guys, they're kind of tall, shooting arrows at me, and then the shivers, which are those ones crawling around on all fours out there. There's actually also these things called locusts, which are like little mechanical spider creatures, and they have nests that they spawn out of underground. There we go, the temporal storms running on, or wearing out here. It's waning. It's clearing up. But those locusts also come in a couple different varieties. Like, you know, and it's based on like kind of what their primary metal is. There's like bronze / I think copper locusts are like the weak ones. And I think there's like iron or something. But you can also find bell locusts and I think it's sawblade locusts are the other two that you can encounter. And those are like those are part of the top tier of locust enemies. And the bell locusts, they have like an actual bell on a tail attached to them, if I remember correctly. Or maybe the... Anyways. And they ring it, it basically alerts the other monsters in the area there's something going on. And the sawblade locusts, they have a tail with a saw blade on it that they attack you with. Now, if you'll notice what's going on is you'll see less and less monsters. Temporal storms cleared up. And so all the temporal monsters will despawn now. You can see our temporal stability gears filling back up, spinning back to the right instead of to the left. And the rift activity is back to calm. And now we're just going to go ahead and finish sleeping for the night here. Now that we can go to sleep, we can get back to work in the morning. And I think we're going to go mine some copper. So we can really get some copper stuff going. The other thing we need to do real quick, and I think we'll do this right before we go out and mine copper, is we need to make an anvil mold. So let's go ahead and grab some more clay so we can get this anvil mold made and into the pit kiln while we go and mine some copper, because we need 900 units of copper to make the anvil. So, anvil mold. Get this done. Yeah, once you get beyond copper and bronze, you have to actually start forging your anvils. So once you get into iron and steel and all that, you have to actually forge the anvil in like multiple pieces and then put those pieces together. Now I think it's just two. You have to make like the top and the bottom, and then you have to weld them together using borax as a flux, which is a real thing, by the way. Because I am a trained blacksmith, I do know how to do that in real life. I'm not good at it, but I do know how. Reset the size of my filling in here. Get this back to 3x3 here. And I actually do use borax as a flux when I was blacksmithing. I don't do much smithing anymore. But I do like how they've got it done in this game. Which again, once I get the anvil made and we get some more casting done, I'll show you all of that. Because one of the first things we're going to make is a saw. You have to forge the saw blades. And the saw will basically unlock a whole bunch of things for us by allowing us to make planks of wood. As well as, you know, bow staves. And bow staves are the pieces of wood that you turn into a bow. That's a real thing as well. So I used to know guys that make bows as well. Okay, we're getting close to done with this. There we go. Took a fair amount of clay to get that done. Let's go get... Yeah, we'll go get some peat for this. Actually, what we'll do is make a shovel real quick. So that'll make getting the peat a lot easier. Something you do have to be careful of in this game is peat fires. So, if you ever have... because you can turn on lightning strikes to allow them to cause fires in the game. And they'll start like, you know, wildfires here where the grass is all burning and stuff. And your forests will burn down and stuff if you're not careful with that kind of thing. I mean, it adds a nice level of realism and survival to the game. But it also means that if your nearby peat field catches fire, it will burn all the peat in the peat field. And all that fuel is gone. And having walked through a peat bog that was on fire, there's not really much you can do about it. I found a very slow burning peat fire once while out on a hike. And it's just weird watching the smoke come up out of the ground. Very similar to like coal mine fires, in that, you know, the ground is just hot. There's smoke coming out of like weird little pockets in the ground and stuff. It's very strange. Only it's in a swamp, which you would not expect to see swamp on fire. And the good thing about that is you get enough rain and the swamp will, and then the peat fire will be put back out by it. Which is what happened to the one I saw. We were just going through a bad dry spell where I live. And some lightning or something had caused it to catch. That was many, many years ago. Alright. We're almost to that area where the peat is. I'm just going to grab some of these berries as we go, just so I can store them up for later. Take that one. It's not worth storing, just one red currant. One thing about the different types of berries is most of the berries you get in the game are like things like, you know, red currants and black currants and white currants, blueberries. None of those last particularly long from a storage standpoint. That chicken startled me. I was afraid I'd just run into a wolf or something. Now the cranberries that I'm picking up right here, they actually last a very long time in the game compared to the other berries. Like, for example, these are going to last 4 days in my inventory, where the red currants and all that will only last like, you know, there's more flax. I didn't even know it was there. It only lasts like 2 days normally. Okay, that was a rabbit. Are you worried there? Just throw down a marker here real quick, but don't forget about that flax. The reason I always mark the flax is because you always need lots of flax, especially as you get into late game stuff. You need all the linen to make, you know, clothes and armor. And if you want to build a windmill or a sailboat, you need flax to make the parts for that. More flax that I haven't marked yet. There we go. Peat should be right around here, according to my marker. That was my peat marker, right? No, this is high fertility soil. I went to the high fertility. Yeah, there's a high fertility soil. Went to the wrong thing. It's medium. My luck, I will have walked past a bunch of peat too. So feel free in the comments to tell me if I've walked past a whole bunch of peat already, looking for going to the wrong marker on my map. Feel free to tell me that I'm blind. Alright. Oh. Found a whole flock of chickens over here, so I know where I'll be catching my chickens later for my chicken farm. I could have sworn I marked peat somewhere on here. No. Here's the opposite direction. Of course. Yep. I may cut the walk out to the peat unless something interesting happens. That way y'all don't have to sit here and just watch me walk all the way across the territory I've been exploring again. Okay. Well, folks, I'm going to bring us back real quickly here to show you something, and that's this bony soil, which I'm going to go ahead and dig up this time. I know I've shown it to you before in one of the previous episodes, but this time we're actually going to go ahead and grab it, since we're here at a ruin. And this stuff's really good for panning. Now, we'll go do that later. We'll grab that layer of bony soil as well. There's a lot of bony soil right here. And if I had my pick, it'd be worth pulling that out, because there might be something down there. It looks like there's stuff down there, so we'll need to come back here, I think. Look into that. So, I'm not done with this ruin yet. There's my apple tree that I'm waiting on it to grow up. Gonna make sure I don't miss any more of this surface bony soil. What we'll do eventually is we'll come back and we'll dig out this whole thing when my inventory isn't full like it is right now. So, and I'll bring you back if something else interesting comes up. Alright, folks. I'm bringing you back here because we've just made it to our first bit of peat that we're going to dig up, which is right here. And that's what this stuff that's what it looks like right there. I'm going to leave the stuff that's here on the coast just because I don't feel like dealing with having to put soil back in to reblock water. Sounds like I've got a storm blowing in or something here. The music is picking up. We're gonna dig out some of this here peat so that we have plenty for our use in our pit kilns, is what I like to use it for. It's also good for cooking in general. Like, it's a great fuel source for lots of different things. So we're just gonna dig some of this out. Try and get a couple little stacks of it here. And anytime you see that muddy gravel there, that means you're digging into a lake bed. Yeah, this music is definitely the music that kicks off when you start getting the, you know, high tempo rift activity here. I dropped a rock on myself. That's why my character was crumbling there. To make sure I don't dig into the lake. Dig myself way out of here real quick. Yep, alright. That is more than enough feet for our purposes, so I'll bring you back here in a bit when we get over to our mining spot, because I'm going to go back and light that pit kiln real quick. I also took a moment, if you're noticing it looks later in the day, that's because I took a moment to do a little cooking while I was back at the house, while I was passing by on my way back over here to the peat. And that's because, you know, I had some food that was about to spoil, so I wanted to get it cooked, so it didn't get a waste on me. So, I'll bring it back when we get over to our mining spot that we're going to go mine in. Alright, folks. We're back over here at our mining spot. Yeah, it's a little later in the day. I stopped over at the house to get the pit kiln lit up. And you can see our house from here, actually, with the lit pit kiln. And we're going to dig this up. But first, we're going to clear out some of the leaves so we can see a little better. I also took the opportunity to make some ladders before I came over here. That should be plenty of leaves. So first things first, we're just going to go ahead and pick up the copper deposits. They're just sitting here on the ground. Little native copper markers. Make sure we got them all. Some parsnips there. I'm going to mark these parsnips just so I know they're here as well. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to get our shovel out, because I went ahead and took the opportunity to make another shovel. We're just going to dig down a little bit here. See, we've hit this slate rock. Now, normally, that would be a problem. Thankfully, we brought with ourselves a pickaxe. What we're going to do is we're going to just mine down one level. Since it is dark out, we're going to go and put our torch in our hand here. And go down one more. See if we can't find this native copper. That should be right here. There it is, the native copper right there. And so just so we don't have to deal with unwanted guests, we're going to do that. Put this stone right here, and we'll get these ladders out. We're going to throw down a ladder right there, ladder right there, just for the time being. We'll mine down into this copper vein. If to descend, there we go. And actually, I'm going to go down one more, because that way, what I can do is I can throw a ladder there, so I can just hop up and climb out when it's time for me to get out of here. We're going to do some mining here. And I'm going to teach you all a little bit about mining. Because mining can be very dangerous, especially if you're playing with instability and cave-ins turned on like I am. So what that means is if I destroy the support system or the rocks too much, I can get a cave-in, and the rocks will come tumbling down on my head and potentially kill my character. Which would be very unfortunate. So, like, if you look up here, see, instability 25%, so it has a 25% chance to basically collapse if I break any of these rocks right here below it. The more rocks I break, the higher that chance gets. We're just going to work our way slowly as we look for where this copper vein goes. Now here's the thing, if you notice, on these bottom ones, there's no instability here. That's kind of why I actually like working my way from top down, because if I break this one out, and that doesn't collapse, that means I can break this one and it won't collapse at all. And I'm also going to go and break this out. I'm standing kind of over here, just in case it does collapse, because that will give me, like, hopefully some distance between myself and the collapse. You can also stand under a ladder, because apparently ladders will stop the collapse. This is what I've been told. I haven't tested this too much. But we're going to keep working our way through here. I'm going to break that one over top of that copper node so I can get to it. Especially if the copper nodes go farther back, because they're not always perfectly flat. Now, they are kind of a pancake shape, and they are just kind of like spread out in a sort of circle shape / one layer of the vein. And that's true for like all veins. So you see how this copper vein is really only like on one layer. Now I'm having to break 2 layers just to get to it. in certain areas. But that's because this is the way the ore generation in this game works. And it means you get these wide, flat veins of ore as you mine around. Now this is where I wish I'd made a prospecting pick, because it looks like we are out of copper already. So I'm going to go ahead and break that one just to make sure. Maybe that one as well. Yeah, I'm not seeing any more copper. Now, let me do a Shift H here on this andesite. And yes, so, one of the things I'm going to need soon is a quern, which is a type of mill. So what I did to see this menu pop up here is you can hold Shift and H and it'll bring up the handbook entry on whatever you're looking at in the world. And so here it's talking about making stone coffins, coffin lids. That's for when you get to steel smelting. We're not anywhere near that, so we're not going to worry about that. You can also use it to make polished rock, which is just for decorative purposes. But this quern is very important, and we'll want one. And then this is telling you the different ores you can find in it, from quartz to cinnabar to zinc to nickel, copper, which we just mined, iron. You can find iron in andesite, titanium, which doesn't have an in-game use that I'm aware of at the moment. Chromium, which does have a use. Chromium is used to make sturdy leather. And then tin ore, which you'll need for getting into the Bronze Age, and bismuth, which you can use to also get into the Bronze Age, as well as, you know, it has some other purposes. You also want it for a few other things, but that's its primary purpose, is bronze. Alright, the reason that's all important is because what we can do... You see we've got all this layer here that I've kind of mined out. So we're going to go ahead and do this here on that one. And then we're going to go down a level. And go over here. We're going to break this one out. And I'll show you why I'm doing all this here. I'm going to break this one out. And then go over one more. And I'm doing this in this pattern specifically. Break that one out. And then we'll break this one out. And then what I can do here's where it gets a little risky. I'm going to stand back a bit while I break that one out, this one out. Then we're also going to break that over there out, and that one out. Oh, see, it's good I'm doing this, because we found some more copper that I would have missed otherwise. This is where having a prospecting pick would have been useful, because then I would have known that there was still copper in the area. Because what a processing pick does on its default thing is it basically does a check to see if there's like any ores within a certain distance of the pick, and generally it's six blocks. It's the default test range. And it'll tell you how much roughly is in that area. This just comes back to these things don't, you know, come out in a specific. They're not always flat, anyways. So the reason I've broken all these out, now we're going to go behind them. You notice that whole block fell off, and now I have a block of andesite. And that's how you get solid blocks of material, because you have to break all the blocks on either side of it. I'm doing this to get enough blocks to build a quern, because I'm going to want a quern so that I can get, because here, if we go into H on this, tell us about the andesite, so we click on quern, you need 4 blocks, and I have 3. You also need a hammer and a chisel, but with the smithing coming, we'll get that. And then I'm just gonna go down one here, one here, go back one here, and grab that one. There we go. That should give me more than enough to get what I need. I'm just gonna do one more little quick jump down here to see if I missed any copper really quick. I don't think no. See, I almost missed some. That's why I should have brought a processing pick with me. Also, in the gaming community for this game, generally called a pro pick for short. Let's knock out this one just to make sure it's not any up there. Because it seems to be almost 2 layers down. So let's go down one more here. We're going to knock out some of this just to make sure we don't miss any. Because we're going to need lots of copper. I think we've probably gotten most of it now. Knock out that over there. Oh, I see one over there that we missed. Knock that one out. Just gonna knock out a few more, make sure we have really gotten all that copper, because we're gonna need a ton of it. You know, this is getting a little risky as far as mining goes. Alright, I think we've gotten all of it, which is fine. We've gotten 43 medium chunks, which we'll go home, we'll use our hammer to crush it into nuggets, and there we go. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump up here. Oh. Oh, let me up there. There it goes. And I'll just throw down a dirt block there. There we go. And I can eat. Let's see, how's the spoilage on these fish? They'll last for 2 days. We'll take these home and throw them into our brand new storage container that I've made and have fired and is in the house. So the clay storage container gives you much better lasting time on your vegetables, your grains, and it's still decently good for everything else as far as food goes. And I'll show you, because we've got one made now. And that's where I stacked all the peat up that I brought back. It's not going to hurt it to be outside. That down, and then here's our storage vessel. Look at that. 0.19 for vegetables, meaning it spoils in just under, 20th the normal time. I mean, rate. So basically will last several times longer. And 1.3 times rate on grain. So, notice my grain will last for 9.5 years. That'll last nearly forever. These berries that were only going to last 2 days, that's 7 days now. Because they're at basically a 25% normal, expiration time. These vegetables, 100 days, 120, 1.2 years for the onions. The onions just last for a while. Alright, so now what we can do is put away our pick for now. I'm going to put away this dirt, too, when I'm sitting here thinking about it, because I don't need all this dirt. Put away these rocks. I have a lot of rocks. I'm going to have to do something with all these stones I've got. Take this bowl. Grab our character some food. I'm also going to get this torch out of my hand. There we go. Put the cooking pot up there. What time is it in the game? It's 4 a.m. We'll go ahead and grab this, and I'll show you how this works. So we're going to put this in our crafting grid over here, put that there, and notice each chunk we get gives us 4 ingots or 20 pieces of copper. So, or 20 units worth of copper. Let's do all that. Boom. Alright. Now, let's see how much copper that equates to. Come on. Do this. We're going to throw in the 120. So that gives us 100 or 640, because it's 5 apiece. So let's take that on up to 700 and see where that leaves us. And then these 40 should each give us another 100. Here's our 900 right there. That is our anvil done. Now, unfortunately, that doesn't leave us a whole lot of copper for anything else, though. So let's go out here and see what's going on with our anvil mold. And by the way, that storage vessel production only works while that's considered enclosed, so we have to keep that enclosed. So we still got time on our anvil mold being done. So let's see if we can't get ourselves a bit more copper while we're thinking about it. So we're going to go ahead and go back in here real quick. Drop off some more stuff. Like the rest of these stones that we don't really need right now. Grab our pickaxe. Grab a bowl of food for the road. There we go. And let's go over here to this other copper mine that I marked and see how much copper we can get out of that. And this is what's going to allow us to really kind of advance in technology. So here we go. Here's the copper. We will put our food in the inventory for the moment. We'll do this just to pick it up off the ground here. Make sure we got all of it. Not seeing any more little nuggets on the ground, so it's probably not a real big one. But we're just going to go down right here, I think. Actually, I'll grab my dirt out here. Put my copper there. Just throw a block of dirt up there. Do a ladder. Let's go down and see what we find. And there's the copper right there. Perfect. Alright. So we're going to throw some dirt up there. Put our torch back on our offhand. And start mining. So this is native copper in slate, meaning we're going to get a lot of slate stone out of this. Trying to get all this copper. What kind of nuggets are we getting? We're getting medium chunks here. That's fine. Now, here's the cool thing. This dirt won't collapse, so that's why I don't mind breaking these. Like, these, it might say, like, 50% stability or whatever. It's fine. Because right now I've only got the normal instability turned on, meaning only stone and gravel will collapse and sand, not, like, just raw dirt. So, like, that raw dirt that's above my character's head, perfectly safe. Not going to collapse on us. Now, you can turn that on, where that will collapse. And I know some people that actually prefer to play that way. Because, you know, they think it adds a nice amount of risk to the game, which is fair. It does. It means you can be, like, walking on a hillside, and suddenly the hillside will start collapsing because of, you know, it could basically cause a landslide. So, it does add some interesting mechanics to the game by turning that on. Alright, let's go get the copper on this side here. Because we'll need enough copper to make a few things. And don't think these two little copper veins that I've, like, mined out in this stream is like all the copper we're ever going to find. Now, there's tons of copper. is just surface veins, which are always smaller than like the deep veins you can find. Once we get a prospecting pick, we can start looking for those deeper veins of copper and other materials. It's also how we're going to find probably our first tin ore, because we're going to need tin to get some tin bronze going. Because you actually have to have tin bronze to progress the storyline. So one of the things I do know is that to progress in the storyline, I think, let's see if that's all of it, you have to have and make a tin bronze pick. You're probably like, well, why do you need to make a tin bronze pick? Well, that's because to advance the storyline, you have to go to a specific merchant, which is a merchant called a treasure hunter merchant. And he's going to want you to give him, you know, a tin bronze pick for the information you need from him. Oh, we got a medium crystallized chunk. Alright. Might save that. Because you can break it for some copper if you want. But they also look really good in display cases, so you can make like a display case and put it in there. So I'll probably save that one and not break that crystallized chunk we just found. But now, with our copper in hand, we're going to go back to base here. Put our door frame back in its frame. Put away our low fertility soil here. And get our hammer out. Actually, put away our pick first. Now get our hammer. And we will break up these medium chunks of copper. There we go. Cool. Alright, so got our 900 units for smelting there. Got another 105 nuggets there. Stack up some of these dirt chunks here, or these rock chunks that we don't need anymore. Now let's go see how our Anvil mold is looking here. It's still got some time to burn. It shouldn't take too long with the peat, you know, for the fuel source. Let's go get our garden tended. While we're waiting on that, just give it a little more time, see if it finishes up. Because I can't really do anything else until we get that anvil done. As far as like tool making. I could make like a sword or something. But I realistically only have enough copper to make 5 more tools. And a sword would not be necessarily my first go-to. I do plan to make one. Because, you know, having an actual sword for melee combat against like the drifters and the wolves and stuff would be very helpful. And it is on my high list to make. But first things first, I want a saw, because that'll let me improve my storage, let me address a few things. Like make a real door for the house, instead of using, you know, the hay bales that I'm currently using. Which, don't get me wrong, the hay bales work, but it'd be nice to have a real door. I think I'll do while I wait. Let's also finish mining out this coal. I'm not going to make you watch me finish mining out this charcoal. So I'll probably fast forward through this. And we'll come back once the anvil mold is ready to be poured. And I think we'll finish up with pouring the anvil. Okay, folks. I'm going to bring you back here real quick because I actually just found something. I'm going to be very quiet. I'm going to turn up the volume on my game a little bit to see if you can hear the sound. Alright. I'm going to stand next to this tree. You hear that sound? The very light sort of buzzing sound? That's right, folks. I think in this tree, I can't find them, but I think we have found a beehive. We're gonna keep it. We're gonna stick our face in here and see if we can't find these bees. Wait, I saw something. That's a maple log. I heard a buzzing. I saw would look like a bee. Oh, there it is. Wild beehive, medium, large population. It's right there, hiding in this tree. We're going to mark this on our map because that is going to be incredibly valuable. A nice yellow bee symbol there. So now, what we can do... So I'll go ahead and show you this here. So I've been gathering some cattails while I was waiting for my anvil mold to finish. And we can... No, that's not what I wanted. Cattails. Alright. And you can use cattails to make an empty bee shell. And it just takes 2 clay and a bunch of cattails or papyrus. Now, I have clay and I have cattails, and I know where I can get some more clay. So what we're going to do is we're probably going to come back next time and we're going to get these bees. We're going to use them to start our bee farm. So that's going to be really valuable, because that means we're going to have beeswax, we're going to have honey, and it also means we can start making candles to make all kinds of good things. And I'm going to go back to gathering just some resources that I was gathering, and I'll bring you back once that anvil mold's ready so you can see how that goes. But I just want to show you the bees and let you hear that sound so you know what to listen for when you're out looking for bees in your own playthrough, because they can be really hard to find. That's actually my first time finding bees without a mod to help me. So in my previous playthrough I used a mod called Buzzy Bees, and what it did... Oh, there's a bowthorn over there. Okay, what Buzzy Bees does is it increases the volume a little bit on the bees, as well as it makes a text prompt show up at the bottom of your screen saying buzz, you know, buzz, buzz. And the text gets bigger and bigger until you're, like, at Beehive. Until it's taking up, like, you know, the entire length of your toolbar there, just above your toolbar at the bottom of the screen, with the big yellow letters saying buzz, buzz. So, if you're having trouble hearing the bees, you can always install that to help you find bees. But this being the goal of being a vanilla playthrough, I didn't do that this time around. But now that we know where there are bees, I just gotta figure out where I want to put my bee farm. Oh, and the whole time I've been talking and walking back, I can see that our anvil mold has finished. So instead of bothering to cut, I'm just gonna go straight to that. I'm gonna go put away these bones real quick, and then some of the other stuff I grabbed, and we'll get that casting going here. Remember which chest I keep my bones in. Go, and throw these feathers I found in this one for now, and into the storage vessel with the food we have found. There we go. Alright, now let me go ahead and put my door back up while I go out and grab the mold so we can do our anvil. There it is. There's our anvil mold. Alright. Go back in here where I've got our fire pit. Close the door so that bowthorn that was wandering out there doesn't come and bother us, even though it won't. I know it won't. And I guess we'll just put the anvil mold down here. Alright. And need our tongs, which are right there. I'm going to put those in our offhand. What we'll do is we'll just... Now, you know, I've got some charcoal in my inventory. We'll just throw about 10 in there and see how that does for us. Yep. So I throw my torch out. There we go, get the sucker lit. Alright. It's going to take it a moment to get up to heat, but once it does, we'll be able to grab it out of here and pour our anvil. You can see this will make 900 units, just like we needed. And the anvil, if you look at it, it says 0 out of 900, so that's how we know that's going to be the right amount. This will actually be a good opportunity to take some time to feed my character while I'm sitting here thinking about it. Go and grab that one, because that's my oldest set of food. Go. Wow. Alright. It's not actually full, but full enough. Take that empty crock and throw it over here in my empty crock storage. Alright. It's getting up to heat. Good, because I'd rather not burn 10 units of charcoal on this, because charcoal can be a bit, you know, of a pain to make in large batches, especially when you have to go cut down all the trees and stuff. Now, thankfully, I did not make a maximum size charcoal pit, because there is a maximum size on your charcoal pits, so I made a little 3x3 cube, which isn't too bad, because in total it made me, let's see here, I've got some charcoal in one of these boxes here. I'll show you how much it made me. So we've got 64, 128, and there's 24 more there. And there's 4 more. So I've used probably 7 units of charcoal now, because there was 3 here I've used, and I used 3, so 6. So if we add 6 to this here, that puts that at 34, plus another 7 is 41. So 128 plus 41 puts us at 169 charcoal that it produced. Not bad. That's a pretty good turnout. And that's plenty to keep us going for a good while. Now, you can make, I think it's an 11 by 11 by 11 charcoal pit, if I remember correctly, on maximum size. And I don't want to think about how many trees you'd have to cut down in this game to fill that. I also don't know if I'd ever use that much charcoal. I suppose if you get into steel production, you know, because to make steel you have to make iron, which requires a bunch of charcoal because you have to make iron blooms, and you have to refine the iron blooms into ingots, and then you have to take those ingots and layer them in that stone coffin thing I showed you in the crafting guidebook earlier, and then put that in a specialized furnace, which then also runs on charcoal / coal, because it has to get up to a certain temperature. And it's usually easier just to run it on charcoal at that point, instead of trying to mine. I think it's black coal you have to have. It's either black coal or andesite, or not andesite. It's a specific name of a subtype of coal that you can find in the game. So a lot of people just use charcoal for that. And in that instance, you'll having a larger charcoal pit might be useful just because of how much you'll go through trying to do steel in the game. I may actually use all 10 of these pieces of charcoal to get the heat, where I've already burned 6 of them, and we're working. Well, we've got 4 left in that pile of 10 I put in there. The more units of metal you add to the smelt, obviously the longer it takes to get it up to the smelting temperature. Which is true in real life, having done some smelting. Never actually smelted iron in real life, in the sense of never made like an iron bloom in the traditional way of making an iron bloom and then hammering it out. I've melted and poured aluminum. My father used to do lead casting. I had a friend that was into doing pewter castings. And I've experimented with copper before. I've not had a very successful copper smelt, but I've done some aluminum smelting in real life. Just found it as an interesting way to recycle aluminum cans that me and my friends would generate from drinking sodas and stuff. But we're almost there. We're almost ready to do our first anvil, because we're going to have multiple anvils through the playthrough as we go up the technology tiers. So think about it like this. This anvil is a copper anvil. It will do copper, and it will do bronze. If I want to do iron, I need to have a bronze anvil, because that will do bronze and iron and copper. And if I want to do steel, I'll have to have an iron anvil. Basically, your anvil and your hammer will do one tier above the material they're made out of. Alright, there we go. So it needed 9 pieces of charcoal to get us there. There we are. Look at that white hot crucible that we're holding there. It's a hot crucible. And we're gonna pour it all in there. You can watch it fill up as we do. It's a lot of copper. See, there it goes. Now it's coming to view, and you can see it working its way up as it takes out how many units of copper we put in there. And there we go. our crucible back over there. Tongs away. Let the fire burn out. As long as that's only gonna last 3 days in here. It's probably because of all the heat. That's why it's only gonna last 3 days. How much? Yeah, the heat's kind of messing up our storage of food, but that's all right. And we'll let that cool off, and we'll be able to do some proper smithing with our copper hammer. How much durability? That has plenty of durability left, so we'll be able to make a few things. Actually, what I should do, well, I've still got the fire going, is I should actually go ahead, cut that in half. And I should actually go ahead and do another smelt real quick and make some ingots. Ow. Gotta be careful. There we go. Alright, go ahead and do that. Throw these in here. Just throw a couple more pieces of charcoal on the fire. Thankfully it was still lit, so shouldn't lose too much heat here. And I know one of the kind of like metagame ways to really save on your charcoal efficiency, and I've seen people talk about this in the forums. I'm going to turn the volume back down on the game a little bit. There we go. Just realized I'd left it up from where I was showing you all the bees. Is to go ahead and light your smelting fire with something like peat or some other fuel that will get up to a nice temperature. Peat's a good one because it gets you up to, like, I think it's 900 degrees. And then once the fire hits your 900 degrees, you just switch out your peat for your coal or your charcoal. And then you save yourself a little bit of coal and charcoal getting it up to temperature. I'm not super worried about being that efficient right now. But I'm doing this so we can get 2 ingots made, because that'll give us enough ingots to make a saw and another tool if we want. Like the chisel. The chisel would be good to have. I need to leave that there, actually. I put away my tongs, because I wasn't thinking. Grab the charcoal off there. Grab that. There we go. Now we can pour our ingots. Each one takes 100 units, just like the tools. There we go. That away. Alright, folks. And now that's where we're going to call it for this episode. We've got our anvil made, well, cast. It'll cool off. And by the time we come back next episode, it should be cooled enough, ready to go for us to start doing some smithing. And we'll have to set up a place to do that, because we're not going to want to do that in our food cellar / bedroom. But now that we have it, that'll be an easy thing to do, because we can use that to make a saw, which we can then use to actually build a proper house. But thank you all for joining me again. This is Thalon McRom, and we're playing vanilla Vintage Story. So I hope you all have a great one. See you next time. And if you enjoyed this content, remember to like and subscribe. And also, feel free to comment. Tell me things I missed. I will respond to comments. So, hope to see you all next time. Have a great one.